God Morgen and happy Wootens Day to you. I hope that everything has gone according to your plans today and this week. So I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited that we are moving into uh, an understanding, a real grasp of this ideas that we talk about each and every morning. So I hope that it has provided you with some level of benefit. Today we're talking about Wooten, and we're going to cover him a little bit in detail because obviously, as a practicing shaman of the Norse, Othin is very critical, and of course, Othin and Wooten being one and the same. Before we get started, though, I want to call out New Reality TV. For those of you who haven't subscribed yet, costs are absolutely minimal, and what you get for your dollar there is amazing, as a massive collection of different perspectives that hopefully can help us to kind of wrap our minds around the spiritual influences affecting our lives every day and get our mind in a better mental space. As always, I want to call out all of the live feeds, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. For those of you who are joining us this morning on Facebook, notice that the live chat is online. So drop those questions, drop those comments. Don't be shy. Let's get a conversation started. Mental space is so important nowadays. So be sure to get something started there. I do want to call out for those of you who may need another ear to bend or another mind to kind of work with to get whatever you need resolved so that you can have a better mental space. Check out my website, norsewhispers.com/coaching. A wonderful opportunity for us to work together and certainly find our way to hopefully something that works for you. Finally, before I get talking about Wooten this morning, I want to call out for those of you who may have a few extra coins, need to put them to good use. By all means, drop them in our tip jar. You can do that either here on the chat or on the stream, or you can certainly visit our website where we have a tip jar down at the bottom where you can click on it and help us help others, right? Because we're out there, we're hopefully helping people find their better mental space. So today we're talking about Wooten, and we're talking about wisdom and what that means. Why even go there? Well, what is wisdom, firstly and foremost? For those of you who haven't followed the show, may be new here. Firstly, thank you. Secondly, wisdom is simply a collection of experiences that are overlaid on our knowledge to form a higher level of intellect. So this higher level of intellect interrelates our knowledge stacks to kind of bring this more or less raised level of intellect into our lives. And it's both intellectually and emotionally. So it's our emotional intellect that we should be kind of focusing on. How do we feel? How do different events make us feel? All of these things we need to understand them. Of course, when you think about one of the things I've been shown in trances is when we leave this physical form and return to our spiritual core, back in the spiritual realm. When we do that, we're no longer capable of creating new sensory input, right? Because we've left our physical body behind, and and so we can't hear, can't see, can't taste, can't touch, can't smell, nothing, right? So we're drawing now. Our consciousness works solely on our memories, what we remember of being in this physical reality, interrelating with other entities, uh, all of them, and that's really our experience at this point, right? So it's something that we kind of need to think about as we um, ready ourselves for our future growth, is that we're trying to get not only intellectual wisdom but emotional wisdom as well. So for those of you who may have experienced grief in your past, or frustration or anger or those types of things, yes, they're unpleasant. Yes, they're uncomfortable, but they're required to a point, right? We have to understand the the emotional kind of motion within our lives, our hearts kind of being jerked around in such a way that we learn, and that's really the key ingredient to emotional intellect, is that we're learning that too. Now, for those of you who maybe grew up in my era, back in the 60s and the 70s, and into the 80s and beyond, you probably fell into this mindset that it was okay, or it wasn't okay for men to express our emotion other than anger and happiness, true happiness. Those were acceptable, but those ones that where we felt vulnerable, where we felt open, where we felt maybe violated to a degree, those couldn't be expressed. That was not a thing. Well, it was. All right, it has always been. It has been since the beginning of time. So what we try to do is stifle it, and therefore, that's really why, particularly if we look at history and we look at emotional growth and stunting and this, that, and the other thing throughout history, we see, leading up to this kind of change in that mindset, um, you know, happened in the 50s and 60s. This is really where we see a different mindset, right? We really see this change in acceptance to emotional intellect. And that's really what happened in the 60s. Granted, it was probably driven by psychedelics or psychotropic drugs, whatever. Nonetheless, we saw a humanity shift, a humanity paradigm shift between the stifling and the hold it down, hold it, keep it inside, to a place where no, it's okay. It's okay to let these emotions out, to display them, to uh, to express that negative energy, to get that out of ourselves, and to actually live a more happy life because we're not harboring negative energies. Now, for those of you who have followed the show, you probably know I'm a big fan of understanding energy and how energy interrelates with our psychology. This is truly, truly important because when we can visualize something, it's easier to manage it, right? We're more of a visual people, and so we like seeing it. So if you think about anything that we don't want, all right, let me back up and say, when we think about our existence as humans, as fellow life forms on Midgard, our natural state, the natural state of being for us, is joyful, comfortable, in harmony, peaceful. That's really what we're designed to do, to be. And when all these other energies come into us and change us from that state, we find ourselves becoming incongruent with who we are, right? When we're angry all the time and we're frustrated and whatever. As we do that, we find ourselves coming out of alignment with our congruent self. We come out, and now what we're doing is we're creating a stress in our mind. Remember, we've got this bandwidth pipe, if you will, through our mind as to how our sensory input is processed by our brain before it winds up in memory. And this tube bandwidth is only so big. It only has so much room. Our physical mind can only handle so much processing. Even if all the rumors, which I question as to whether we're using all of our brain or only 5% or whatever, we only have a certain amount of bandwidth to process all of our experiences, all of our lives. So it comes in this tube. And many times what we want is we always want to maintain a little bit of headspace in that tube so that we can have cognitive thought. We can be able to think our way through whatever it is, right? So if we experience, as an example, if we were to experience a massive trauma, massive psychological trauma, something that just flew against everything you understood and believed, and that came into your brain is going to try to process it all. But the stresses that we've created by living outside of our congruent space, or our congruent line, we've created a delta that transmits into stresses within the brain, and those stresses remain, right? So if we take on too much now emotional process or emotional experiences into this tube, we're going to knock off or clear out this headspace, this cognitive space that's more energetic. They bring in more energy because they have more emotional energy packed into them, right? So we're taking in more data, and we can't think our way through it. So heartbreak, as an example, using the stereotypical teenage girl who experiences a heartbreak, maybe her first heartbreak, and it's overwhelming. It is just way over the top. Why? Because she's got these little bit of stresses, because of course she lives, and I'm purely stereotyping here, so for all you young ladies, this is not a slam on you, all right? Just putting that out there. But we sometimes live inauthentically to kind of fit into our community, into a society, into a group. And so we've got these little stresses that are building up in the mind. These little stresses are then going to remain as now we take on a large trauma, a heartbreak, right? So a lot of emotional data going to come plowing through. And because this trauma is going to crowd out that thinking space, the cognitive space, it's hard to think your way through this. You can't take it and go, well, there's more fish in the sea, right? Is what we always tell our daughters as they're trying to work through this heartbreak. Well, for them, they can't see that because this cognitive space that's on the top of the bandwidth is gone, right? It's overwhelmed with this trauma. Now, how do we turn off the faucet? How do we say, wait? Well, there's two ways. And the first way what we're going to do is we're going to work on those. And this is, when we talk about the psychotherapy and the therapists and all that, this is what we're going to wind up doing, is we're going to work on these small stresses, right? Because when we drop these small stresses and we're able to get those out and get those off our plate, we now have this whole trauma now sinks down a little bit, and lo and behold, appears our cognitive space. So now we can start thinking about how to deal with this trauma. Now, in the case, going back to the stereotypical young lady who's experiencing her first true heartbreak, true love that just fell apart for whatever reason. And we've got this massive trauma coming into the mind, and as we lose the willingness, the desire, the passion to hold on to these little stresses, right? We no longer care if we're in this social group. We no longer care if we're dressing the way we should. We no longer care about all of these little tiddlywink things. We've dropped those off the radar. We've opened up the bandwidth, and now we can drop the trauma down and now apply cognitive thought. Again, now it comes to the mind that yes, there are other boys who are, who think she's pretty, who thinks, she's a wonderful person, and see her for the real person she is. Now those thoughts can actually really come to fruition because now we have headspace. Now this occurs for almost anything that we face in our lives that may challenge that which we believe, that which we understood to be reality, right? Anything that kind of steps outside that bounds, steps outside our expected, our norms, is going to cause this trauma. Now, some of this trauma may be fleeting, right? If somebody were to show me a picture of a real live alien from outer space, I would probably go, "Whoa, that's really exciting," and it would fade fairly quickly. Unless they're coming down to visit with me and hang out, and they're bringing their own mead. It really doesn't have an effect. Conversely, if I'm one of those people who have been waiting for the other life forms within our existence to come down here, man, this is a great moment, right? So it's all about managing energy into the mind. Now, this trauma, as it comes into the brain, one of the things that you need to kind of visualize is think about it as a negative stream of energy, right? So it's just a horrible something we don't want, right? And what it's going to do is it's going to come inside, and I don't have anything round, but it's going to come inside, and the energy becomes a circular pattern, right? So it starts spinning inside of us. This is why you see when somebody, as an example, somebody says something crude or just really hurts your feelings first thing in the morning, this energy, you stew on it, right? You're going to brew it, and what's happening now is this negative energy is spinning, and the negative energy is rubbing on all these sides. So it's surrounded by our light energy, or more often than not, neutral energy, which is what all energy from the universe is. Neutral. It's neither illuminated nor is it dark. It's not good versus bad, nothing like that. It's just energy. And so we have a lot of it in our being. We make it every minute of every day. And so we're kind of this little beam of energy. Well, what happens is this negative energy starts spinning, and all of this energy that it's making contact with, right? So we see, let's see here. So we see all of this energy along here that's being rubbed on by this dark energy begins to convert. Now, energy that is in contact with negative energy becomes negative, right? So our little thing that started this morning, little insult or maybe something that hurt our feelings, begins this process. So it's starting to spin and it's starting to convert this neutral energy around it, and it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, bringing neutral energy, turning neutral energy to negative energy, bringing positive energy to neutral energy, and then ultimately to negative energy. So, slow process of expanding the negativity within us. This is why, and many times at the end of our day, for those individuals who may deal with negativity quite often throughout their day, we need a way to decompress, to get that out, right? So, in many cases, that's verbalizing, right? So we go into our room, we scream into a pillow, right? We just scream obscenities into a pillow. This allows us now to um, expel that negative energy. Notice how, if you've got something that's just really weighing on your soul, you get into a room, or maybe even outside. I love yelling into the ocean because the ocean is so powerful. It can just absorb that negativity and scatter it. So I go to a beach, I stand at the waterfront, and I just scream. Just let it all out. And what I find is I do feel better, right? And what I've done now is I have reduced these, I've shifted, and now I have some cognitive headspace. I can think my way through my troubles. So, one way. Now, do I recommend that one? I do personally because I do it myself. But to each their own. Another way, obviously, is to probably use some meditation, meditative processing. Now, a lot of people, when they hear meditation, they think of these yoga poses and we're in perfect form and we're. Yet, meditation doesn't always have to mean that. Meditation can also be one of the things I used to do when I was much younger man was build models, little model cars and model trucks and whatnot, little plastic models, where I was completely focused on what I was doing, you know, and the brain wasn't thinking about anything else other than getting this mirror to stick on the body of the car, right? Something like that, maybe drawing, artwork, wonderful way to just let that energy gets out the negativity, and it can also help us to express the positivity as well, which kind of has this double-edged sword. When we think about drawing negatively and we draw this dark, really concerning image, the problem is that you're kind of creating a cycle. Yes, you're getting it out, but you're seeing what you're doing and you're drawing it back in, right? So it's kind of this double-edged sword. Whereas what I meant by screaming at the ocean, just letting it out there, allows the energy to go out. Now we're drawing energy, because remember, we create a vacuum. Whenever we push energy out, we pull energy in. But if we expel our energy out towards the ocean, we can now bring in other positive energy, which now reverses the effect of this, because now as the negative energy is going this way, now the positive energy is going to come this way, and we're going to quash it. All right. So that's a visual way to think about trauma and to think about negative energies that may upset us during our existence. And the goal is, of course, as with everything, the goal is for us, our spiritual self, to understand this, to be able to manage this, to help once we leave our physical form and we're in spiritual form. The goal would be to create more harmony by helping others to find this path. Now, is there one way to do this? The management of our energy as there is people to do this, right? So everyone has a different way of kind of wrestling with this idea of controlling our emotions. Granted, there are going to be some emotions that come into our lives and they're an impact, right? We are going to feel them, we're going to experience them, and we're going to grow from them, and they're a necessary step in our evolution. So, super important. So, I hope that you take a minute and just really begin to understand energy all around us. This is really the wisdom that Odin sought. Woden. This is really what he sought when he drank from the well of Erd. Now, a legend of Odin was that he drank from this well that he may gain the experience, the wisdom, but he was gaining the experiences of all the people who were connected to Yggdrasil. He was absorbing all of those experiences that he could then build this monster wisdom. Because the experiences in our physical life is what teaches us our emotional intellect, thereby giving us emotional wisdom. Super important. And it'll help us understand our mental space. Again, no one else has authority up here but you, right? You're the only one that can control that mental space. You're the only one that can navigate through dropping those stresses off, reducing that trauma, and then for using our cognitive ability to think our way through this, to chunk it down, to handle those things we can, and to not worry about those things that we can't do anything about. So that's really a part of absorbing and obtaining a better mental space. All right, so today, Woden's Day, as we go through today, I pray that you have a wonderful day today. But I really want us to think about those experiences that we have that incite some form of emotion within us. Hey, we feel beautiful about that. We feel frustrated about that. We feel angry about that. We feel happy about that. We feel sad, whatever it is. And just kind of note how your body handles it. Income in, processing, how do we get out that which we don't want, that which doesn't match the criteria that we've had. So think about that today as we celebrate Woden. All right? I wish you the very best Woden's Day. I hope that you have everything that you need. I look forward to seeing you tonight as we talk about whatever questions that you've asked. By all means, whoops, no, where am I? I'm over there. I'm over somewhere. Is the Facebook chat. Remember, each and every morning we're here, and if you've got questions, if you've got something that's pushing, that you just can't seem to get an answer to, by all means, drop it in the chat, and let's talk about it. Let's open up that chat. So I encourage you to drop a line there. All right, my friends, for those of you who are looking to expand your mental capacities, your emotional, and certainly your spiritual interactivity with this life we have, by all means, check out New Reality TV. There you will find a ton of different perspectives that may provide that piece of intellect that you need to be successful. All right? Love and light, and we will see you again this evening for Sportsmall, and I look forward to it. All right? Love and light, my friends. Have a wonderful Woodlands Day.